So on the first date, you shouldn't be asking your dates. So in your family, do you guys have mad people in your family? Like so today guys, I'll be talking about the questions you should never ask on a first date. So let's get started. So guys, I've grouped all the questions into different sections just to make it very, very clear and comprehensible for you guys. So the first category of questions you should never ask on a first date, I've grouped them under physical questions. So on the first date, you should not be asking your date if he or she has thought about losing some weight. So you already know the person is overweight or even obese, or the person is too slim, like skinny, thin, and all that, and then you're stylishly telling the person, have you ever thought of adding some weight, or have you actually ever thought of losing some weight? It's very, very rude, it's impolite, it's just altogether not nice. So don't ask that question on the first date. It's actually not appropriate. When you guys get to know each other better, you can ask such questions about weight, considering the fact that a lot of people do not like questions relating to weight because it's very, very personal. Do you get? So that's one of the questions you should never ask on a first date. So still under the physical questions, another question you should not ask a girl or a guy on a first date is what cologne he or she is wearing. That's an indication that your date is not smelling nice or has body odor or has mouth odor. So you should never say such a thing. Just try and endure the date, till you're done and then you can leave. Just ignore that part. Even if it smells badly or she smells badly, just try and ignore all that. Because the moment you ask a girl or a guy, what cologne are you wearing at the moment? Or did you remember to spray some perfume on your body before leaving home? Or you're asking, are you sure you actually brushed your teeth before coming for the date? I feel like that's so awkward. So personally, if you ask me that kind of a question on the first date, I would definitely know that I'm either not smelling nice or actually smell so bad. So don't ask a girl or a guy that kind of a question on the first date. Just try and endure the smell. When you're done with the date, you're done for good. So that's that. Another question under the physical questions you should never ask a guy or a girl on a first date is that okay, for instance, you're a guy, you should never ask a lady, have you actually ever thought of wearing some makeup? You're just telling the girl that she's ugly. You should never say such. So if you feel that she needs more makeup to look more beautiful or to look more attractive, or even if you actually feel that she outrightly looks ugly, just try and enjoy the date, ignore all that, and then when the date ends, you can probably send a text message later. Or if you actually like her, beyond the physical, if you actually like her and you would want to be in a relationship with her, over time you can discuss such issues with her. But on the first date, telling her if she has actually ever thought of wearing makeup, or probably you're actually trying to tell her to actually stop wearing makeup, so you're like, have you actually thought of not wearing makeup? Or you're saying something like, you would look more beautiful without makeup. It's just unnecessary on a first date. So that question should definitely not be asked on a first date. Still under the physical questions, another question you should never ask a date, your date, is asking about the haircut. Like if it's a guy, you're not like, oh, I like this haircut better than what you're wearing. Or if your date is a lady, you shouldn't be saying something like, oh, I think you look better if you wear if you wear wigs. I think you will look better if you braid your hair. Or I think you will look better if you wear this particular hairstyle. I feel it's just totally unnecessary for a first date. You would have many opportunities to discuss that. That's not just like the best avenue to discuss that. So don't say anything about her hair. Even if her hair looks unkempt, looks untidy, just ignore all that. And even if the guy looks unkempt, if the hair is not probably well combed, or the haircut is just not looking nice, just ignore all that. Subsequently, you can bring up issues relating to his hair or her hair. So that's that about hair. Don't ask questions relating to hair on the first date. Don't make her feel bad about how she looks, and also don't make him feel bad about how he looks on the first date. So the next category is the marital category or the marriage category. So what you should never ask your date is when do you think you want to get married? Fine, I know that for a first date you're meant to ask questions, but don't forget that this is just an initial meeting, and you're actually just meeting on a lighter note. This is not something so serious, so don't bring up like very, very serious questions like, oh, where is this relationship leading? when are we going to get married? Are you actually ready to get married in the next 1 month? Like, don't sound too serious. Fine, you should show a level of commitment. You should let your date know that, oh, you're really, really like committed. You really, really want to, start a relationship with her or with him. That's if you're interested anyways. But I'm just saying, don't sound too serious. So asking questions like, so where's this relationship leading? When do you think we will be getting married? It's just like it's too, I feel like it's too early to ask such questions. So don't ask about when they want to get married, or how soon they want to get married, or if they can actually get married very soon, if you guys can actually get married very soon, or can you guys like get married like very, very quickly. It's just unnecessary. If you guys eventually decide to start a relationship, then you can start discussing questions relating to that. You also don't want to ask the guy or the lady how many kids they want to have. It's totally unnecessary. You guys should just have fun on the first date. Ask mild questions, simple questions, general questions, and then eat and drink and leave the venue. On other occasions, you can actually now ask about deeper questions. But asking about how many kids they want to have, or if they even want to have kids at all, it's totally unnecessary. So please don't ask such questions on the first date. Another question you don't want to ask on the first date is, especially for guys, for men, stop asking ladies this question. So I heard this a lot of times, and I know this is actually very real. This is what guys like to ask. So you're on a date with a girl. You should never ask her if she's willing to sleep over at your place after the date. Oh my goodness, this is just wrong. It is wrong on all levels. Never ask a girl if she's willing to sleep over at your place after the date. I mean, it just, I don't know. It shows a level of unseriousness. It shows a level of irresponsibility from you. And then it's so obvious that you just want to sleep with her and then dump her. So never ask such questions. Questions relating to, do you want to sleep over? Would you like to sleep over? Do you want to sleep at my house and then I will drop you off at your house the following day? It's just not right. You can actually drop her off at her house and subsequently you can plan whatever you want to plan, but for a first date, it's just not right. So never ask a girl if she wants to sleep over at your home on a first date. Okay, so now to the spiritual category. You don't want to ask your date if he or she likes to fast and pray and all the religious questions. I know you're meant to ask about their faith on the first date, which is not like a hard and fast rule anyways, but I feel it is nice to stylishly, or not even stylishly, you can confidently ask about their faith, like their religion. Are you a Christian? Are you a Muslim? Whatever the religion is, it's exactly appropriate to ask, but don't ask because you want to sound religious. So it's not like after asking, what's your religion, and then if for instance if the person is a Christian and then you go as far as asking, oh, so how many times in a week do you fast? How many times in a month do you fast? Do you sow seeds? Have you ever sown your first fruit? Like all those religious questions. Can you speak in tongues? It's just not necessary for a first date. Subsequently, you guys can always talk about that, especially if you guys plan to get married to each other. You would definitely ask such questions later. You would definitely speak about those things later. If you guys are planning to get married to each other, once you guys are in a committed relationship, there would always be avenues to talk about such. But on a first date, asking the guy or the lady if she speaks in tongues, if she goes to church regularly, if she can actually fast and pray, how long can she fast for, all those kind of questions are still religious. Their denomination, you can actually ask about their denomination. But the goal is not to sound so religious. You don't want to sound like, oh, you're too religious. So you should be very careful, of such questions on the first date. You should ask about their faith, but don't go too far. Don't go too deep. Don't start sounding like Deputy Jesus on the first date. So another category that you should actually inquire about, but you should not go too deep into, is the medical category. So on the first date, you shouldn't be asking your dates, so in your family, do you guys have mad people in your family? Like, I feel like it's just too no, this is like that's too gross. You're asking someone on the first date if they have mad people in their family. So you're like, Do you have any sibling who has, any mental illness? Do you have any member of your family who has, in the past or presently suffers from a medical illness or a medical condition or a psychiatric condition or mental illness? It's unnecessary on first dates. Don't ask such questions. You get to know that later. But on the first date, so do you expect do you expect him to start telling you, oh, my elder sister has been in and out of mental facilities, different mental facilities. She's been diagnosed of maybe schizophrenia, or she's been diagnosed of depression. He or she would definitely not tell you that on a first date, because it's just too early. I mean, she doesn't even know if she will end up in a relationship with you. You also don't know if she's someone you even like or someone you want to go out with. For instance, if I'm in such shoes, I would never tell you anything related to that. So even if I have a sibling or a family history of whatever medical condition, I would definitely not tell you on the first date, because we might not end up together. We might not even end up dating each other. I mean, we might not even have anything to do after this first date. We might just go our separate ways. So why should I divulge, family issues on the first date? That's absolutely not right. So don't ask medical questions on the first date, or even the medical conditions that I know that people usually ask about, like, oh, so are your parents hypertensive or diabetic, or do you have any family history of diabetes, hypertension, asthma? Don't ask such questions. They're just unnecessary. If you guys eventually date or even get married to each other, I'm sure you would get to know those things. So it's just inappropriate to ask this kind of questions on a first date. So the next category is for relationship related questions. So on a first date, you should not be asking the lady or the guy how many people they've been with. So on a first date, you're like, so how many men have you dated? How many men have you been in a relationship with? Or you're asking the guy, how many ladies have you been in a relationship with? How many ladies have you been with? It's absolutely unnecessary. They would never tell you the truth. I mean, why would I share such an information with someone that I don't even know so much? This is the first time I'm meeting the person. I really do not know so much about the person yet. So why should I divulge, such an information with the person or to the person? So I feel like on the first date, you should never ask a person, the number of people they've been with, how many relationships they've had in the past. It's just unnecessary. You will never get the correct answer. You never get to hear the truth from them. If you guys eventually decide to have a relationship, a committed relationship, the person can feel safe enough to tell you these things. But on the first date, it is a no, 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 no for me. You should also not ask the person the reason why the last relationship ended. So on the first date, you're asking me, oh, so why did you break up with your head? It's none of your business, bro. It's none of your business. So don't ask me why my last relationship ended on the first date. My God, of what use is that information to this present situation? Like, so if you get to know why that relationship ended, of what benefit is that on the first date? At the long run, of course, you need to know, if you wish to know anyways. It's really not something serious, but if you wish to know, you may know, but it's really not necessary. It's definitely not going to have a strong impact on this present situation. So why do you want to know, why the last relationship ended? You may want to know that because you don't want such, a reoccurrence in this present relationship, but it's not just right on the first date. So you really don't have to be in a hurry. You have lots of time to ask these questions. A first date is not just the right time to ask about, the past relationships, the person has been with, what led to, the breakup, and, all those personal questions. They're just unnecessary on the first date. So guys, the last category is finance, and this is something that has personally happened to me, so I can really relate to this. So as a guy, I know guys ask these questions a lot. I don't know if ladies do ask, I don't know, but from my own perspective, I think it is very much common with men. So a guy would actually ask you on your first date, how much do you earn? Why do you want to know how much I earn on a first date? I don't even know who you are. I don't know if you're a thief. I don't know if you're an armed robber. I don't know who you are. This is the first date. We're just getting to meet each other officially. We're just getting to know each other on a lighter note. So why do you want to know how much I earn? So if I tell you how much I earn, of what use is that? Someone once asked me that question, and that was the last time I spoke with the person. I was just meeting the person for the first time, and then he was asking me, so how much do you earn as a nurse? I'm like, Why do you want to know how much I earn as a nurse? I don't know so much about you. I'm just getting to know you. I'm not even getting to know you. You are the one getting to know me. Like, you're the one crushing on me. So why do you want to know how much I earn? Of what benefit is that to this present situation? So even if you really want to know what someone hands, if you know what they do, I mean, on the first date, you can actually ask the person, what he does or what she does. So if you kind of know what he does or what she does, just go on Google and type, how much do these people hand. So for instance, if the guy is maybe a lawyer, an engineer, whatever he does, an artist, a musician, a dancer, just type it on Google. How much do dancers earn in the particular area where the person lives? So say the person lives in London, you can typically just type on Google, how much do dancers, or even you can even be specific. So you can type something like, how much do male dancers earn in London? Then you can have an idea of what the person earns. It's just so wrong to ask, to ask your date how much they earn. It's just so awkward. And I feel like this is not a question that should be asked on the first date. Please don't ask. You don't want to ask them how much they earn. You don't want to ask them, also, if we get married, how do we share the bills? If you get married, this is still the first date. I don't even know if I want to have a second date with you, let alone getting married to you. So why do you want to know who shares, who takes this bill, who takes that bill, who does this, who does that? Or you're like, oh, so how do we share house chores in marriage? We're not even talking about marriage yet. So you don't want to ask anything that has to do with finance, like how much do you earn, how do we share the bills when we get married on a first date. No, that's inappropriate. You don't want to ask such questions. You also don't want to ask the person how he or she spends her salary. So I heard things like, oh, so you earn this much. So for instance, your date asked you how much you earn, and then you out of your free will, you decided to tell him or you decided to tell her how much you earn, and then the person now says, oh, so so you earn this much. So how do you spend your salary? That's too much. You're becoming like too aggressive about this. Don't ask how they spend their salary, or how much do you spend on this, how much do you spend on clothing, how much do you spend on transportation, how much do you spend on this, how much do you spend on that. It's just unnecessary. Don't ask questions relating to money per se, on the first date, so that you don't sound like a gold digger. So just ensure that on the first date, you're not asking like money related questions, especially when it comes to earnings. People can be very, very private when it comes to how much they earn, especially on the first date. If they become very committed to you, they would definitely tell you. But I feel like on the first date, it's just unnecessary. So don't ask how much the person earns or how much the person spends on on wigs. Especially men, don't ask us how much we spend on wigs. Please don't. Are you sure you really want to know how much we spend on wigs? You don't want to know, please. So don't ask that on the first day. Like, oh, your wig is lovely. How much did that cost? Do you want to know? Do you really want to know? So please don't ask. Don't ask, oh, your necklace is very lovely. How much did that cost? On the first date, do you really want to know? So please don't ask such questions. And that's that about finances. And I think I've covered everything I would like to mention about the questions not to ask on the first date. Guys, if you have other questions that you think is inappropriate, just drop them in the comment section. Or if you've been on a date and someone asked you very awkward questions, questions that are just so inappropriate and unnecessary, please drop the questions in the comment section. I would really love to read from you people. So thanks so much guys for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share my videos with your loved ones. Click on the notification bell so you'd always be notified when I put up videos on my channel. And if you're yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.